You can count them on one hand how many days we have until the NBA draft begins. Here we go, Utah Jazz. Let's see what happens this week. To talk about it with us again, we've brought in Ben Anderson, our KSL Sports.com Utah Jazz insider. Ben, before we move too far ahead with the draft, just a few days away now, I do want to take a week's look back at this trade that happened right after we talked last week with the Orlando Magic going to get Desmond Bane. They gave up four first-round draft picks, a couple of players to get Bane. First of all, did they give up too much? And second of all, how does this trade affect maybe the value of players on the Jazz roster? I think a lot of people are thinking about Lowry.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade. In all honesty, I think they paid a fair price. It says 4 unprotected first-round picks, and you think, oh, wow, that's the same thing the Jazz got for Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert. One of the picks is already this year's 16th pick, so it's not unprotected. We know exactly where it's going to go. And the Magic should be good. Desmond Bane and Paolo Banchero is a really good group of players. So they're going to be good. Those picks will be in the 20s. I think where it is interesting for the Jazz is that draft picks were moved again. You remember in the Luka Doncic trade, only one draft pick changed hands, and it kind of felt like, our team's holding on to draft picks too much now. So the fact that those are being used as currency in the NBA again is good and is valuable, and I think that loosens up the trade market. Lowry and Desmond Bane are probably pretty comparable qualities of players. They're not the same type of player. Desmond's a little younger. He's a little bit cheaper. They're both under control for the next 4 years. But, yeah, if you're looking for an instant upgrade for a guy who's going to come in 26, 27 years old and might be that missing piece to kind of put you into championship contention, I think that's where they're comparable and where the Jazz might be able to get good value for Lowry still. Okay, well,
obviously this time of year, the draft rumors swirl quite a bit. They're probably going to heat up a lot between now and Wednesday night. And there's already been a lot of rumors as to what maybe Ace Bailey, a potential top 5 pick, is thinking. The reports that he doesn't want to meet with the Jazz, and then even reports this weekend that maybe he would like to be with the Utah Jazz. What's your overall take on the whole Ace Bailey rumors, and does that affect maybe the way the Utah Jazz look at him as a prospect?
It shouldn't. He has had a weird pre-draft process. He has not worked out with a lot of teams, or maybe he has and he's lying. That's the thing you have to remember. Right now, it's what the NBA front offices like to call lying season. Everyone's lying. Everyone's got a smokescreen. Players have agendas. Agents have agendas. Teams have agendas. Everyone wants to get a good deal. And so they're going to position themselves to get that good deal. So, yes, while I believe Ace Bailey hasn't worked out anywhere, that doesn't necessarily mean he hasn't had interviews. And look, he's been a top recruit since he was 16 years old. So the Jazz have been watching him since he was 16 years old. And yes, he's only 18 now, but they've been to his high school games, they've been to his AAU games, they've been to his college games, they've seen him everywhere, the McDonald's All-American games. This idea that there's like a mystery in the draft at that point with the top 5 guy, don't believe it. They've talked to him, they've done their due diligence, they've talked to the janitors at the high school he went to make sure, is he a good kid? And by all reports, he is. Just because he's not working out with teams, I think doesn't mean he's a bad person.
Yeah, but Jazz definitely know what they're getting. At least they believe they know what they're getting with anyone they take at that. All right, 21st pick in the draft. Let's look later in the round here. Ideally, realistically, what can a team get that late in the first round? How much of an addition, what kind of a career can that type of a player have with your franchise?
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. You look at what the Jazz did last year, and, Cody Williams had a very slow start to his career, but Isaiah Collier and Kyle Filipowski both hit the ground running and look like good players. So I think drafting at 21, it's actually a pretty good spot for the Jazz, and Danny Ainge has had success, and we'll see if Austin Ainge can replicate that. But there are some names I really like, in all honesty. I think there are some guys that can come in and either be kind of high upside long shots, or maybe if the Jazz don't want to stay young with another 20-year-old, they can get a senior. They can get a guy who's come in and played a lot of college basketball who can help. And a couple of names I'd look at, it's like a Walter Clayton from Florida. He helped them win the championship. He's a little bit, I don't want to say Keontae George-y, but he kind of plays the point guard, can play a little shooting guard. He's small, but he can really shoot the ball, and he's got experience. And I think those types of guys get a little underrated in the draft, but they come in and they end up having a big impact on winning, and I think that's important. Another name who might fit that as far as a senior goes is Maxime Reynaud. He's a center who went to Stanford, not really like a basketball school. He's a French background. But, man, he's really skilled. He's a really good offensive player, and he would offer the Jazz something that they don't have in Walker Kessler. He can step out and space the floor. But, again, he's 22, so he might be a guy who steps in to that backup center role where the Jazz are a little thin and could play right away.
Whatever happens between now and Wednesday night, this is the guy to follow, Ben Anderson at KSLSports.com. And take a listen to Jake and Ben every day, 10 to noon on the KSL Sports Zone. Ben, thanks for joining us again.
Happy to do it.
Yep.